Through the Desert by Henryk Sienkiewicz. Your subscription really motivates me to continue working. Chapter 41. The caravan started on its journey at sunrise the following day. The young Negro felt very happy. The little despot was gentle and obedient, and Staś was full of energy and hope. 100 Wahimas accompanied them, 40 of the latter being armed with Remington rifles, which they knew how to use quite well. Their white leader, who had instructed them for 3 weeks, knew that at a given signal they would make a great deal of noise, but do little damage. He also knew that in a conflict with savage people, noise plays as important a part as do bullets, and he was pleased with his guards. The caravan took away large quantities of manioc, little baked cakes made of big fat ants carefully dried and ground to flour, and also a great deal of smoked meat. About 10 women also accompanied the caravan, and they carried various things for Nell's comfort and water bags made of antelope skins. From the elephant's back, Staś supervised and gave orders, which were perhaps not exactly necessary, but he did this more because he loved to play the role of the leader of an army. Indeed, he surveyed his small army with pride. If I wanted to, he said to himself, I could be king of all these tribes, just as Benjowski was in Madagascar. And the thought flashed through his brain that perhaps it would be well to return here eventually, subjugate a whole region, civilize the Negroes, and found a new Poland in this country, or even to leave for old Poland at the head of an army of trained Negro soldiers. But feeling this was an absurd idea, and doubting whether his father would give him permission to play the part of an Alexander of Macedon in Africa, he did not confide these thoughts to Nell, who was the only person in the world who would agree with him. Besides, it would be essential to be independent of these savages before attempting to conquer this part of Africa, and so he busied himself with what lay nearest him. The caravan advanced in a rope-like line. Staś, on King, had determined to bring up the rear, so as to be able to have everything under his own eyes. When the people marched past him in single file, he noticed with surprise that the 2 sorcerers, Mkunji and Mimpua, who had been thrashed by Kali, also belonged to the caravan, and were carrying baggage on their heads and marching along with the others. He stopped them and asked, "Who told you you might go along with us?" "The king," answered both, bowing very low. But under the mask of humility, their eyes shone so wildly, and their faces bore such an expression of rage, that at first Staś felt like driving them away, and was only prevented because he did not wish to undermine Kali's authority. Calling Kali to him, he asked, "Did you order the sorcerers to go with us?" Kali told them to, for Kali is clever. "Therefore I again ask you, why did your cleverness not leave them at home? If Mkunji and Mimpua had remained, they would have stirred up the Wahimas so that they would have killed Kali on his return, and if they go along with us, Kali will look out for them and put a guard on them." Staś considered a while and said, "Perhaps you are right, but be on the alert day and night, for there is mischief in their eyes." "Kali has bamboos," answered the young Negro. The caravan now set forth. At the last moment, Staś ordered that the guards equipped with Remington rifles should close the procession, for they were selected and trusted men. During the gun practicing, they had in a way become fond of their young leader, and because they guarded his illustrious person, they felt themselves more favored than the others. They now had to guard the entire caravan and to capture those who attempted to run away. It was evident that as soon as danger or fatigue came, there would be plenty of deserters. On the first day, however, everything was peaceful as could be. The Negroes, with the burdens on their heads, each armed with a spear and several smaller darts, wound through the jungle in one long line. For a while they advanced over a flat tract on the southern border of the lake, but as high mountain summits enclosed the lake on all sides, they found on turning toward the east that it was necessary to climb over the hills. The old Samburus, who knew this country, declared that the caravan would have to cross narrow passes which lay between the mountains Kulal and Imo, and that until they reached the other side, they would not come to the flat land south of Bovani. Staś knew that they could not march directly eastward, for he remembered that Mombasa lay several degrees the other side of the equator, and therefore a considerable distance south of this unknown lake. But as he still possessed several of Linde's compasses, he was not afraid of losing his way. The quarters for the first night were arranged on a woody height. As soon as it had become dark, a great many campfires flashed forth, around which the Negroes roasted dried meat and ate cakes made of manioc roots, which they took out of the pots with their fingers. After they had appeased their hunger and thirst, they talked over matters with one another, speculating as to where Bwana Kubwa was going to lead them and what they would receive for their services. Some sang as they squatted on the ground like Turks and stared into the fire, but they all talked so long and so loudly that at last Staś was obliged to command silence so that Nell could sleep. The night was very cool, but the next morning, when the first rays of sunlight lighted up the scene, the air became warm. At sunrise, the small travelers beheld a peculiar sight. They were just approaching a lake about 200 kilometers long, or what might be called a large puddle, which had been formed in a mountain valley by the rain, when Staś, who was sitting alongside of the girl on King and surveying his surroundings through the telescope, suddenly cried, "Nell, look! See the elephants going to the water!" Half a kilometer away could be seen a herd of 5 beasts slowly advancing single file toward the small lake. "But these are strange-looking elephants," said Staś, who was still regarding them very attentively. "They are not so large as King, and have much smaller ears, and as for tusks, I don't see any at all." Meanwhile, the elephants went into the water, but they did not pause on the bank like King usually did, and did not bathe themselves with their trunks, but steadily advancing, they went deeper and deeper into the water, so that at last only their black backs, resembling pieces of rock, stood out over the surface of the water. "What's that? They are diving!" cried Staś. The caravan was slowly approaching the bank, and at last reached it. Staś ordered a halt, and gazed with the greatest surprise, first at Nell, then at the lake. There was nothing to be seen of the elephants, except 5 dots looking like red flowers riding above the surface of the water and rocking gently to and fro. "They are standing on the bottom, and these are the ends of their trunks," exclaimed Staś, scarcely believing his own eyes. Then he called to Kali. "Kali, did you see?" "Yes, sir, Kali has seen. Those are water elephants," answered the young Negro calmly. "Water elephants? This is not the first time Kali has seen them. And they live in the water? In the night they go into the jungle and graze. In the daytime they live in the lake, just like the Ryboks. They do not go out until after sunset." For some time Staś could not recover from his surprise, and had he not been in a hurry to continue the journey, he would have held back the caravan till the evening, so as to have a better opportunity of observing these peculiar beasts. But it also occurred to him that the elephants might emerge on the opposite side of the lake, and even if they were to come out of the water at any nearer place, it would be difficult to see them well in the dark. So he gave the command to depart, but on the way he said to Nell, "Nell, we have seen something which no European has ever seen before, and do you know what I think? That if we are lucky enough to reach the ocean, no one will believe me when I tell them that there are water elephants in Africa. And if you had caught one of them and had taken it along with you to the ocean?" said Nell, who, as usual, felt satisfied that Staś could do anything.
Remember to subscribe.